I transmigrated. I became a cannon fodder rich second-generation character in a feel-good novel who wouldn't live past 3 chapters. There was no system, no golden finger bestowed upon me. My only advantage was that I knew the entire plot. To survive, I decided to completely lie flat and be a salted fish who eats and waits to die. The first thing I did was kick out the icy CEO fiancé from the original book who ruined my family and caused our downfall. I just want to quietly enjoy life. So why does this plot seem to be getting more and more wrong? Ethan, what trick are you trying to play this time? A cold voice sounded in my ear, laced with undisguised disgust and impatience. I forced my eyes open, my head throbbing from the hangover. What came into view was a face that could only be called breathtaking. The features were as exquisitely formed as God's finest work. Fair skin, a high-bridged nose. Yet the phoenix-like eyes were filled with frost, as if they could freeze a person. She was wearing a well-tailored black, professional suit, her demeanor cool and aloof, like an ice queen perched on high. Sophia. The name popped into my head in an instant. Immediately after, a flood of information surged in like a tide, making my temples throb fiercely. I'm transmigrated into a male-oriented wish-fulfillment novel I had just complained about before bed. I became the cannon fodder rich second generation who stole another man's woman and ended up ruined his family, Ethan. And the icy beauty in front of me is my fiancée. And one of the triggers for my tragic ending in the original book, the president of the Taylor Group, Sophia. In the original book, I was an uneducated rake, addicted to wine and women, all looks and no substance. Betrothed to Sophia in a business marriage, he nevertheless pestered her endlessly and harassed her. At a party, he attempted to assault the original female lead Emma Wilson, only to be heroically stopped by the original male lead Kevin White, who then suppressed him all the way until his company went bankrupt and he jumped to his death. Lived for less than 3 chapters. What the hell? My heart churned, and my stomach followed suit, turning queasy. What, still drunk? Sophia sneered more deeply when I stayed silent. Ethan, I warn you, stop using that act of playing the victim. I'm not interested in you. Our engagement is just an exchange of benefits between our families. Behave yourself. It's better for both of us. Her voice was like tempered ice. Every word stabbed at the heart. If it were the original owner, he would probably shamelessly crawl closer now and say something like, Sophia, I love you, I'm sincere, that kind of lies. But I am not. Me, Ethan, was an ordinary overworked corporate drone before transmigrating. My biggest dream was to win a $5 million lottery and retire early, living a salty life of waking up naturally every day with no worries about food or drink. Now it's great. The lottery didn't hit, but I instantly became a top-tier second-generation rich heir. Although I'm a cannon fodder, as long as I don't go courting death and don't provoke the original novel's male and female leads, with the Johnson family's obscene wealth, lazily lying flat until death isn't a dream. What CEO beauties, what jealous rivalries. All of that can go to hell. I just want to lie flat and do nothing. At that thought, my brain, fuzzy from a hangover and information overload, cleared in an instant. Rule number 1 for survival. Stay away from Sophia and break off the engagement. I lounged back on the sofa, rubbed my aching temples, too lazy to even look at her, and said casually, "Oh, got it." My reaction clearly took Sophia by surprise. All the cutting remarks she had ready were swallowed up. She furrowed her pretty brows and looked me over critically. "You," I said. I lifted my eyelids to meet her cold gaze, tugged at the corner of my mouth, and enunciated each word. "Let's call off our engagement, Miss Taylor." The air went instantly dead silent. For the first time, a crack appeared on Sophia's eternally unchanging icy face. She froze, her phoenix-like eyes full of astonishment and disbelief. It was as if she had heard something utterly fantastical. "What did you say?" She suspected she'd misheard. I said, "Break up, call off the engagement, got it?" I dug at my ear and repeated impatiently, "I'm not interested in you either, so consider this engagement over. You go your way on the sunny road, I'll cross my lone bridge." Don't bother me again, okay? I stood up, walked to the liquor cabinet, poured myself a glass of plain water, and tilted my head back to drink. The cool liquid slid down my throat, clearing my mind a little. Sophia finally came to her senses from the shock. Her expression visibly darkened, the knuckles of the hand holding the coffee cup paling slightly. She thought this was another one of my new tricks to play hard to get. Ethan, put away that ridiculous act of yours. She snorted coldly. Trying to get my attention this way? Childish. I finished my water and set the glass down hard on the table. It gave a crisp clink. Miss Taylor, do you think too highly of yourself? I turned around and looked at her with amusement. Do you think of the US dollar, loved by everyone? I really, truly have not the slightest interest in you. I stuck out my pinky and made a small gesture. I used to be, well, I used to be ignorant. Now I've come to my senses. I opened my hands, my face full of sincerity. Compared to an iceberg like you, I prefer the Simmons bed at home. So the engagement is off, that's that. I'll tell my parents, and you can notify the Taylor family. After speaking, I was too lazy to look at her extraordinary face any longer and turned straight toward the upstairs bedroom. Oh, by the way, I sat at the top of the stairs as if I had remembered something, turning back to add, don't come into my house casually from now on. Men and women should keep their distance, Miss Taylor. I'm very tired and need to catch up on sleep. Help yourself. With a bang, I closed the bedroom door, shutting the whole world out. Lying on the soft bed that could swallow a person up, I let out a long breath. To hell with the plot. To hell with the male and female leads. I'm going to start the blissful idle life I've always dreamed of. I slept like the dead in the big bed. When I woke again, it was to the jarring ring of a phone. I fumbled for my phone and, without looking, swiped to answer. Hello. My voice was thick with nasal congestion, very hoarse. Mr. Johnson, you finally picked up. A man's voice on the other end sounded extremely anxious. Where are you? If you don't come to today's board meeting, those old men will flip out. Board meeting? I froze for a moment, then remembered that although the original had no real skills, she was nominally the titular deputy CEO of the Johnson Group. The man on the phone was David Brown, my chief aide, an extremely capable fellow who had the misfortune of being treated like a lackey by the original. No, I said succinctly. David was stunned. Mr. Johnson, today's meeting is about development of the Nanching plot. Taylor Group is also bidding. If you aren't there, we'll be at a serious disadvantage. That plot of land in South City? A scene from the story flashed through my mind. Oh, I remember now. In the original book, it was a disaster. Sophia, to show off her ability, overruled everyone and took that land. Halfway through development, they discovered antiquities beneath it. The project was immediately halted, and she lost everything. This was also the beginning of the Taylor Group's decline from prosperity. At the time, the original owner foolishly invested a large sum to please Sophia, and of course it was money down the drain. His father scolded him mercilessly. Why would I bother jumping into such a big pit? We're not touching that land, I said decisively. But Mr. Johnson, based on our assessment, that parcel of land has extremely high commercial value. It would be such a waste to give it up. David was still trying to persuade me. I said we won't touch it, and we won't touch it. My tone brooked no argument. David, listen, from today on, that piece of land in South City and all projects that compete with the Taylor Group, Johnson Group will not participate in any of them. Understood. Silence on the other end of the line. After a long moment, David replied in an extremely complicated tone. Yes, I understand, Mr. Johnson. He probably thought I had been heartbroken by Sophia, that love had turned to hate, and I wanted to draw a clear line with the Taylor Group. Let him think whatever he wants. Also, I yawned and continued to instruct. Fire those deputy directors in the company who spend all day flattering and have no real ability. Also, recruit a programmer named Leo Green from the games department, promote him and give him a raise, and have him lead the development of an open-world mobile game called The Age of Myth. Budget unlimited. Tell him I only want the best. This Leo Green was a buried genius in the original book. Because he didn't understand office politics, he offended his superiors and was constantly suppressed. Later, the original male lead, Kevin White, recognized his talent and poached him, and he developed a game that took the world by storm, becoming a great help to the male lead. Now, this cash cow belongs to me. David was so shocked on the other end that he was speechless. Firing executives, promoting a junior programmer, developing a new game. Is this still the same Mr. Johnson who only cared about eating, drinking, and having fun? Mr. Johnson, are you sure? I'm sure. Do as I say. I couldn't be bothered to explain. Don't call me unless it's important. I'm going to sleep. After saying that, I hung up, put my phone on silent, and tossed it aside. The world finally became quiet. I turned over, ready to get back to my nap. Meanwhile, in the president's office of the Taylor Group, Sophia listened to her assistant's report with an icy expression. At today's board meeting, the Johnson Group, announced by Special Assistant David Brown, officially withdrew from the bid for the South City Development Project. What? Sophia suddenly looked up, a flash of astonishment in her eyes. She had thought Ethan's words yesterday were just hot air, a play to lure her in. He actually meant it, not only to break off the engagement, but to draw a clear line with her in business too. What's the reason? She asked coldly. The assistant glanced at her cautiously and said in a low voice, I heard. Mr. Johnson gave the order himself. And he also said that in the future, Johnson Group will not participate in any projects that compete with the Taylor Group. A strange tightness settled in Sophia's chest. An indescribable emotion surged up. Was it anger? Or disappointment? She shook her head, trying to shake the odd feeling out of her mind. I'm putting on a show. She tugged at the corner of her mouth, revealing a mocking, cold smile. Who does he think he is? Without the Johnson family's backing, he's nothing. It's better he withdrew, saves us the trouble. The Nanching project is ours to win. She picked up the documents on the table, her tone returning to its customary icy, authoritative manner. Notify everyone. Prepare to bid with everything we've got. By any means necessary, we must secure that plot in Nanching. Yes, Miss Taylor. After the assistant left, Sophia was the only one left in the office. She looked at the towering buildings outside the window. For some reason, Ethan's lazy, slightly mocking face from yesterday kept appearing in her mind. And that line, you think you're the dollar. Everyone loves you. Sophia clenched her fist, her nails digging deeply into her palm. Ethan, just you wait. I'll make you see that looking down on me, Sophia, was the stupidest decision you ever made in your life. I slept straight through until noon the next day. I was woken up by hunger. I padded downstairs barefoot, intending to find something to eat. The huge villa was empty, so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. The original owner's parents lived abroad for years. Only an hourly housekeeper came regularly to clean. That suits me perfectly. I opened the massive double-door refrigerator. It was packed with all kinds of high-end ingredients, from Australian Wagyu to French blue lobster, everything imaginable. Too bad I don't know how to cook. I rummaged through the cabinets and finally found only a packet of instant noodles. All right then, instant noodles it is. Just as I was boiling water, preparing to deal with a meal, the doorbell rang. I couldn't be bothered to move, thinking it was probably a salesperson, so I ignored it. But the doorbell kept ringing persistently, as if determined to keep going forever unless I opened the door. I walked over impatiently and yanked the door open. Who is it? Can't people be left alone? My words were stuck in my throat. A girl stood in the doorway. She wore a simple white dress, her long hair reaching her waist, her face bare of makeup, yet astonishingly beautiful. Her beauty was different from Sophia's aggressive, icy sharpness. It was a kind of gentleness and beauty, like a spring breeze on the face, like warm sun shining on snow. A pair of clear, deer-like eyes, as if they could speak, were looking at me now with a hint of curiosity and apology. Emma Wilson, the original novel's female lead. The culprit who caused me, this cannon fodder, to be disgraced and ultimately jump off a building. The alarm in my head went off instantly. Danger! extremely dangerous. Second rule for survival. Stay away from the original book's female lead. Who are you looking for? I asked expressionlessly, my tone cold. Emma was taken aback by my indifference, then offered an apologetic smile, her voice soft and pleasant. Hello, is this Mr. Ethan's house? My name is Emma Wilson. I'm from Loop Bistro. You left a comment on our restaurant's website yesterday, saying our escargot wasn't authentic, so my grandfather specially had a fresh batch made and asked me to bring it for you to try. As she spoke, she lifted a delicate food box in her hand. That's when I remembered. After hanging up with David yesterday, I was bored and surfing the web. The original owner was a top foodie with very high standards. I casually clicked into the website of the city's most famous private restaurant, Loop Bistro. Seeing their signature dish, French-baked escargot, and drawing on the original owner's memories, I wrote a rambling review of over 1,000 words, criticizing everything from ingredient selection to timing to the sauce preparation, leaving no stone unturned. Unexpectedly, the person in charge actually came looking for me, and she's the heroine coming to my door in person. I looked at her innocent, harmless face, and only one thought crossed my mind. Go away. Stay as far from me as possible. Oh, I just wrote it casually. You don't have to take it seriously. I was about to close the door. Don't. Emma was quick and trapped the door with her foot. Her deer-like eyes blinked at me with a hint of pleading. Mr. Johnson, my grandfather says you're a real expert, that every one of your comments hits the mark. We really want to improve. Please, could you just try a bite and give us your feedback? Her voice was soft, making it hard to refuse. But I knew this woman was a walking troublemaker. Whoever got involved with her would be unlucky. I don't have time, I said coldly, trying to push her foot away. At that moment, my stomach let out an untimely grumble. The sound was especially clear in the quiet hallway. The air froze. Emma's eyes widened instantly. Then she burst out laughing with a puff. When she smiled like that, it was as if the whole world lit up. My cheeks were a little warm. Damn it, how embarrassing. Mr. Johnson, are you hungry? Emma asked, her eyes smiling. Just so happens the French-baked escargot is still hot. Why don't you do me a favor and have some while you're at it? Fill your stomach. Okay. She started acting coquettish. I looked at the food box in her hand, emitting an enticing aroma, then touched my own empty stomach, a battle between heaven and man. Reason told me I should send her away, but my stomach was shouting. I want to eat escargots baked in the French style. Just one bite. I struggled for 3 seconds, but in the end, I surrendered to the delicious food. Great! Emma cheered happily like a little rabbit that had just gotten candy. I let her in. She skillfully placed the dishes from the food container one by one on the dining table. A small ramekin of French-baked escargot, accompanied by several plates of exquisite side dishes. That rich, overpowering aroma instantly filled the entire living room. I swallowed helplessly. Mr. Johnson, have a taste. Emma handed me a pair of chopsticks, her eyes full of expectation as she looked at me. I picked up the spoon and scooped a spoonful of golden sauce. The sauce hit my tongue, rich and savory, the essences of various ingredients perfectly blended, yet still distinct in layers. I closed my eyes and savored slowly. The cooking time was right, but the sauce seemed to be missing an element to brighten the flavor. How was it? Emma asked nervously. Much better than yesterday. I opened my eyes and evaluated objectively, but it still falls a bit short. What's lacking? She immediately asked like an eager student. The sauce. I set down the spoon. Did you only use butter, white wine, and herbs? Emma widened her eyes in surprise. How did you know? Missing soul, I said calmly. Real French escargots in the shell require one thing in the sauce, truffle oil. Not ordinary truffle oil, but black truffle oil, and it must be diluted with olive oil before use. Only a sauce prepared that way can be called truly flavorful. Emma listened, stupefied, then took out her phone and rapidly began taking notes. Truffle oil, diluted with olive oil, she wrote while looking up at me, her eyes shining with admiration. Mr. Johnson, you're amazing. Are you a chef? No. I was too lazy to argue and buried my head in the food. I have to admit, though it was slightly lacking, the French baked escargot was still a heavenly delicacy. I devoured it in no time, soon scraping the bottom of the little dish. Emma sat beside me, propping her chin on her hand, smiling as she watched me eat, saying nothing. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling window, landing on her long eyelashes and casting a small shadow. The scene was so beautiful it felt unreal. I finished the last bite, put down the bowl and chopsticks, and contentedly belched. "Thanks for the meal," I said. "I'm glad you like it." Emma stood up and began clearing the dishes. "Well, Mr. Johnson, to thank you, may I often bring you new dishes from our restaurant in the future for you to try?" This plot is wrong. In the original book, Emma and the original owner met for the first time at a banquet. The original owner fell in love with her at first sight and then started harassing her. How did it become her taking the initiative to come find me now? No need. I refused decisively. I'm a lazy person. I don't like being disturbed. But Emma bit her lip in grievance, her doe eyes brimming with tears, as if I had said something unforgivable. "My grandfather said we must get on good terms with you. He said you're a once-in-a-century culinary genius." "That's your grandfather's problem. I was impervious. I ate the food and gave my opinion. You can go now." I gave her the boot. Emma's eyes instantly reddened. She kept her head down, quietly packing up the food box, glancing back every few steps as she walked toward the door. That pitiful look made her resemble a little dog abandoned by its owner. I felt nothing. A femme fatale, stay away from me. Just as she was about to step out the door, she suddenly stopped, turned around, and mustered the courage to say to me, "Mr. Johnson, can I add you on Messenger? I promise I won't bother you. It's just, in the future, if I have questions about food, I'd like to ask for your advice." I stared at her without expression. She grew a bit guilty under my gaze, her voice getting smaller and smaller. Just one messenger. I sighed. I know that, given the momentum of the plot, even if I refuse today, she'll still come back tomorrow with all sorts of reasons. Better to unblock than block. "Give me your phone," I said. Emma's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly handed her phone over. I entered my number, added her as a friend, and then handed the phone back to her. "All right, you can go now." "Thank you, Mr. Johnson." Emma clasped her hands in gratitude like she'd found a treasure, bowed to me, and then ran off happily. I watched her retreating figure and massaged my temples. I hope this little troublemaker will behave a bit more from now on. I returned to the living room, preparing to go upstairs and continue sleeping. After only a couple of steps, I noticed beside the unopened instant noodles on the dining table something quietly sitting there, a pink bento box. I walked over and opened it to take a look. Inside were several exquisitely cute rabbit-shaped mousse cakes. Beside them was a small note, written in delicate handwriting. "There don't seem to be many snacks in your home. I made these myself. I hope you like them. Emma." I stared at those adorably irresistible little bunnies and fell into thought. This woman has something going for her. In the days that followed, I lived the leisurely life I had always dreamed of. Every day, I slept until I woke up naturally, then ate, worked out, and played games. I handed all the company's affairs over to David. That kid really is a talent. I only had to move my lips, and he got everything handled perfectly. The few sycophantic executives I fired packed their things and left that same day, without causing so much as a ripple. As for the prodigy programmer I promoted, Leo Green, he was fired up after receiving the unlimited budget Imperial Seal. He threw himself and his newly formed team into developing the new game Age of Mythos day and night. They say progress was making leaps and bounds. And the plot of land in South City. Just as I expected, the Taylor Group outbid everyone with a very high offer and successfully secured it. When the news broke, the whole business world was praising Sophia's boldness and tactics, saying she truly deserved to be the heir of the Taylor family. David sounded anxious on the phone. "Mr. Johnson, the Taylor Group is getting all the attention this time. Over here, because of your previous orders, several projects have been stalled recently, And there's been talk saying that after ending your engagement with Miss Taylor, you fell into despair and gave up on your career. Let them talk, I said, lying in my private cinema, sipping my homemade wine and watching an old movie, so comfortable I was nearly asleep. But this has a big impact on the company's stock price. How much has it dropped? It's already fallen for 3 consecutive days. Oh, I replied, completely unperturbed. Let it fall, let it fall. After a while, when Sophia's project blows up, my stock price will naturally go back up. Is this the joy of holding the information advantage? Quietly watching others sprint down the wrong path, while I can just lie down and still win. Nice. Mr. Johnson. David still wanted to say something. Enough, don't bother me. I cut him off. The sky isn't going to fall. By the way, do me a favor. Say it. Help me find out where in Jing City makes the best Western food. List all the national cuisines for me. I want those family restaurants hidden in back alleys, not trendy, internet-famous places. David, he was silent for a full 10 seconds, then replied in a tone of utter resignation. All right, Mr. Johnson. I hung up and went back to enjoying my movie. As for Emma, ever since she added me on Messenger that day, she really hasn't bothered me. She just unfailingly sends me a food photo every morning, paired with a good morning. Sometimes it's a new dish from her shop. Sometimes it's a dessert she made herself. The photos are taken so beautifully they make your mouth water. I usually don't reply. Occasionally, if something looks especially tempting, I'll respond with the or not bad. Even so, she still lights up like a child every time. Emma, great. You think it's not bad? Then I'll add it to the menu tomorrow. Emma. Rabbit throwing flowers, GIF. I looked at the screen, and the corner of my mouth couldn't help but twitch. This girl is adorably a little silly. That afternoon, I was sweating profusely in the gym. 8-pack abs and a V-line. These were the few quality assets the original owner left me, and I had to maintain them well. After all, a great body is the capital for lying flat. I had just finished a set of bench presses when my phone rang. It was David. What's wrong now? I asked impatiently. Mr. Johnson, there's been an incident. David's voice was more anxious than ever. The Taylor Group has had an accident. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, that fast. The plot in the southern city. While digging, they unearthed an ancient tomb. I calmly picked up a towel and wiped the sweat from my face. The construction site has now been completely shut down, and an archaeological team has moved in. The tens of millions of dollars Taylor Group invested in the early stages have all gone down the drain. Taylor Group's stock has already hit the daily limit down. Everything outside is in chaos. David's voice held a trace of lingering fear and relief. Mr. Johnson, how? How did you know there was something wrong with that plot of land? You're incredible. Just lucky, I said lightly. Of course, I couldn't tell him I had activated God mode. Now everyone knows that plot in South City is a sinkhole. The companies that failed to win the bid are all relieved. And we at Johnson Group were the first to announce our withdrawal. David's voice trembled with excitement. Now it's being said outside that you have great foresight and an eagle eye. Our company stock price just hit the daily limit. Me, it hit the limit already. I only wanted to avoid a pit. Also, David continued to report excitedly. That game programmer you asked me to keep an eye on before, Leo Green. He and his team finished a game demo, and it was spotted by a scouting delegation from a top overseas game company. They immediately offered $500 million to buy our project. Not for sale. I didn't hesitate. $500 million, and they think they could buy my cash cow? Dream on. Tell Leo to go all out. If he needs more money, he can come to me. Yes, I understand. After hanging up, I stared at the reflection in the mirror. My figure was insanely good, and fell into thought. I clearly hadn't done anything, just avoided a risk and promoted a talented person. How did I end up being called a business genius by others? This effortless victory feels way too good. Just then, my phone rang again. It's an unfamiliar number. I frowned and answered. Hello. A cool, slightly trembling female voice came from the other end of the line. Ethan, it was Sophia. Something wrong. My tone was flat, as if speaking to a stranger. Silence on the other end of the line. I could hear her slightly hurried breathing. She must be feeling awful right now. The project she fought for against all objections had become a hot potato overnight. The company's stock hit the daily limit down, and shareholders had probably already worn out the threshold of her office. The once lofty ice queen must be enduring unprecedented pressure and doubt at this moment. How did you? No. After a long time, she finally spoke with difficulty. Know what? I pretended not to understand while fully aware. The land in Nanchung. There was a trace of unwillingness in her voice. Did you know something in advance? Miss Taylor, that's a boring thing to say. I chuckled lightly. I simply don't want to cooperate with the Taylor Group. As for that plot of land, let's just say you were unlucky. Unlucky? Sophia's voice suddenly shot up, tinged with hysteria. I don't believe it. Ethan, tell me, how on earth did you find out? I said luck. I was too lazy to argue with her. If you called just to ask that, then I'm hanging up. I'm very busy. Don't hang up, she cried out hurriedly. I can imagine her helplessness and despair at this moment. For someone who was raised from childhood to be the heir and who must always be the best, a favored daughter of heaven, this failure is undoubtedly a devastating blow. She needs a reason, something that will allow her to accept her own failure. For example, that her opponent was cheating. Too bad. I don't want to be that excuse. Miss Taylor, accept reality. I said coolly. Investing carries risks. Enter the market with caution. You should understand that better than I do. After I hung up, I ended the call. Listening to the busy tone, beep, beep, coming from the phone, Sophia's hand holding the phone dropped limply. She slumped onto the cold floor, her back against the huge floor-to-ceiling window. Outside the window was the business empire she had once been proud of, and now that empire was teetering on the brink of collapse. Luck, she murmured, tears finally escaping and sliding down her cheeks. Why? Why of all people did it have to be Ethan, the one she looked down on, the one she thought was a fool, who so easily avoided this pitfall, and she suffered such a huge fall? She was unwilling to accept it. The Sophia project collapsed, and Johnson Group's stock hit the daily limit. These two pieces of news appeared together on the business section's front page the next day. For a time, I became the focus of discussion throughout the whole business world. That prodigal son who had once been treated by everyone as a joke, overnight, seemed reborn, becoming a business genius with ingenious strategies. Hashtag Ethan didn't get out of bed today. Hashtag this topic even shot up to the top of Twitter trends. Clicking in, it was all various silly netizens showering praise. Holy shit, what kind of divine move is this from Ethan? He foresaw there was an ancient tomb underground in advance. Upstairs, this is called having vision. Ethan said he won't compete with the Taylor Group. What's that? It's called refusing to associate with losers. I hereby declare that from today on, Ethan is my one and only male god. Handsome, rich, and smart. What kind of immortal domineering CEO is this? Am I the only one curious? Did Ethan even get out of bed today? At Johnson Group official Twitter. I looked at these comments, amused and exasperated. I really just want to lie flat. Ding dong. The messenger notified me. It's Emma. Emma. Mr. Johnson, you're amazing. Starry-eyed. I replied with a question mark. Emma, I saw the news. You have such foresight. My grandpa also said you're incredible. He said if he had a grandson like you, he'd wake up laughing from his dreams. Me? Emma. By the way, Mr. Johnson, to celebrate, can I treat you to dinner tonight? Pay for my meal? I was about to refuse. But then I thought, in the original owner's memories, there was indeed a newly opened French restaurant, and it was said the head chef was Michelin level. I had always wanted to try it. Me? Sure. Let's go to Spring Garden. Emma, great. Great. I'll book a table right away. 6 o'clock in the evening. I'll pick you up. Looking at the lively sticker she sent, my mood inexplicably brightened a little. At 6 in the evening, Emma pulled up on my door in a red Beetle, right on time. She was wearing a pale yellow dress today that made her skin look even fairer. She appeared gentle and radiant. "Mr. Johnson." She saw me and waved at me happily. I sat in the passenger seat and fastened my seatbelt. There was a faint scent of gardenia in the car. It smelled very nice. Spring Garden is decorated in an antique style with a serene atmosphere. Emma was clearly a regular here. As soon as the manager saw her, he warmly led us to a private room by the window. "Order whatever you want, anything." Emma pushed the menu in front of me and said generously. I didn't stand on ceremony either and ordered several of the restaurant's signature French dishes. Foie gras, escargot au gratin, roast lamb chops. While waiting for the food, Emma propped her chin on her hand, her bright deer-like eyes staring at me without blinking. "Mr. Johnson, you look really good today," she exclaimed sincerely. I was dressed very casually today, a white linen shirt and a pair of casual trousers. "Is that so?" I replied lightly. Being praised by a beauty still made me a little smug inside. She nodded vigorously. "It just feels like you seem a bit tired. Has work at the company been too busy lately?" "Me? Lately all I've done is eat and sleep." "Where's the busy?" "No, I just simply want to sleep." I was telling the truth. Emma, however, wore an expression of "I understand." "Mr. Johnson, you don't have to hide it from me." She lowered her voice and said mysteriously, "My grandfather told me that business geniuses like you who plan and strategize always seem relaxed on the surface, but behind the scenes they endure countless nights and analyze endless data. You must have sacrificed a lot for the company, right?" I looked at her face, written all over with sympathy and admiration, and for a moment I was at a loss for words. Fine, let her imagine whatever she wants. The dishes arrived quickly. No wonder he's a Michelin chef. Every dish was flawless. I ate my fill and was completely satisfied. Emma hardly ate. She just watched me with a smiling face, occasionally picking food for me. "Mr. Johnson, eat more slowly. No one is going to snatch it from you." "Mr. Johnson, try this foie gras. It melts in your mouth." "Mr. Johnson, have some soup." I feel like a useless person being fed, but this feeling was actually pretty nice. After finishing our meal, we walked out of the restaurant. The evening breeze blew gently, feeling very pleasant on the skin. "I'll walk you back," Emma said. "No, I'll walk a bit to help digest. Then I'll accompany you." So, the two of them walked slowly side by side along the road. Neither spoke, yet the atmosphere wasn't awkward at all. They were walking when a commotion came from ahead. A group of small-time thugs had surrounded an old woman running a street stall, apparently collecting protection money. "You old witch, if you don't pay today, forget about setting up shop here." A blonde punk sneered as he kicked over the old woman's stall, scattering the little trinkets everywhere. The old woman trembled with fear, clutching the blonde's leg and begging pitifully. Passers-by around pointed and whispered, but no one dared to step forward. Emma's brows knitted instantly. Without a second thought, she quickened her pace and walked over. "What are you doing?" In broad daylight. "You dare bully an old woman." She spread her arms, shielding the old lady as if she were a brave little hen. My heart gave a jolt. Fine, the heroine's halo has activated. This kind of hero-saving beauty plot is usually the cue for the original book's male lead to make his appearance. I don't want to get involved. The blonde glanced Emma up and down, whistled, and said, "Ooh, a pretty little chick showed up. What? You here to stand up for this old hag?" "I'm calling the police." Emma took out her phone and said, feigning calm, "Call the police?" The blonde laughed as if he'd heard a joke, snatched her phone, threw it to the ground, and crushed it with a stomp. "Little sister, don't refuse the wine and then cry about it. If you make us feel good today, we'll let this old woman go. How about that?" As he spoke, the blonde reached out to touch Emma's face. Emma went pale with fright and kept stepping back. I sighed. Troublesome. I strolled forward leisurely and grabbed the blonde guy's wrist as he reached for Emma. Yikes. The blonde sucked in a breath at the pain. His wrist felt as if clamped in iron, unable to move. "You little shit. Who the hell are you? How dare you meddle in my business?" He bared his teeth in pain. I didn't speak. I applied a little pressure with my hand. A crisp crack sounded. Huang Mao's wrist bent at a grotesque angle. Ah! A butcher-like scream rent the night. The other few thugs were stunned. They hadn't expected that I, this delicate-looking pretty boy, would strike so hard. My hand is broken. Yellow hair clutched his wrist and rolled on the ground. Get lost. I spat the word coldly. Those few thugs woke up from a daze, scrambled to help the blondie up, and ran off in a terrified heap. The world finally became quiet. Emma still stood frozen in place, staring at me in shock. In her pretty doe eyes, besides shock, there was a hint of an unusual gleam. I ignored her, crouched down, and helped the old lady pick up the items from the ground one by one. Thank you, young man. The old grandmother was in tears of gratitude. No problem. I returned the items to her. Young man, you really are a good person. The old grandmother picked up a woven talisman from her stall and pressed it in my hand. This is for you, to keep you safe and sound. I had wanted to refuse, but seeing the old grandmother's sincere eyes, I still accepted it. Thank you. After I finished dealing with things here, I turned back to look at Emma. She was still standing in place, staring straight at me. What are you looking at? I asked. Ethan, she whispered my name. It was the first time she called me by both first and last name. You were just so handsome. Two flushes rose on her cheeks, her eyes sparkling, filled with little stars. Me? Oh no, this is going to be a big problem. Since that night, Emma's attitude toward me has clearly changed. Before it had been admiration tinged with a bit of awe. Now it's blatant obsession. She was no longer content with just saying good morning to me on Messenger. Instead, she came to my house every day, trying different ways. One day she brought cookies she baked herself. The next day, she brought a newly learned fancy soup. They grandly called it repaying the debt of a life saved. I was utterly annoyed, but couldn't drive her away. The girl had thin skin. When I said something harsh, her eyes would redden, making me look like a bully picking on a virtuous young woman. Worst of all, the things she brought were damned perfect for my taste. I could only resent her for being annoying while disgracefully finishing everything. That day, I was in the living room watching a food documentary when Emma showed up again. She had brought a huge box today. Ethan, look what I brought you, she said, opening the box like someone showing off a treasure. A fluffy, round ragdoll cat was using its sapphire-like big eyes to look at me with curiosity. Meow, the kitten piped softly, instantly melting my heart. Before I transmigrated, I had always wanted to have a cat, but circumstances wouldn't allow it. Now, I looked at the ragdoll cat reaching out a little paw to me, and my emotional defenses collapsed in an instant. It's called Machi. Cute, right? Emma picked up Machi and held it out to me. I was afraid you'd be bored at home by yourself, so I let it come keep you company. I reached out and gently stroked Machi's head. So soft. Machi seemed to like me too, rubbing its cheek against my palm. Do you like it? Emma asked expectantly. I cleared my throat and said calmly, pretending to be composed, it's okay. Though I said that, my hands honestly picked up Machi, holding it in my arms and stroking its fur again and again. Machi purred contentedly. Emma watched my clumsy yet gentle movements and smiled, her eyes curving into crescent moons. By the way, my family also has a cat. A golden shaded British shorthair named Goldie. Next time I'll bring her so Machi and Goldie can meet. I hummed in agreement, my attention fully on Machi in my arms. From that day on, my lie-flat life gained a fluffy little companion, and Emma now had a more legitimate reason to come to my house. I came to see Machi. She not only came herself, she also brought her cat Goldie. That golden-shaded British shorthair named Goldie looked chunky and adorable, but its personality was nothing like its owner's, aloof to the extreme. The first time Machi met Goldie, he eagerly approached, wanting to cuddle with his new friend. Goldie recoiled with a look of disdain and even reached out a paw to swat Machi. Machi let out a plaintive meow and ran to my feet seeking comfort. I picked him up and glared at that ungrateful golden British shorthair. Goldie turned her head haughtily and refused to look at me. Emma couldn't stop laughing at the side. That's just Goldie's personality. She's a bit slow to warm up, she explained. However, a few days later, the situation had reversed. The aloof Goldie, at some point, started following Machi around intentionally or unintentionally. When Machi went to drink water, it followed along. When Machi played with a yarn ball, it sat quietly watching nearby. When Machi slept, it slept not far away, keeping guard. Looks like a pervert. See, I told you, Goldie actually really likes Machi, Emma said triumphantly. I looked at the two cats stuck together, then at the girl beside me with a radiant smile, and felt a strange sensation in my chest. It was as if my life was being slowly infiltrated by her, becoming less lonely. This feeling isn't bad. Meanwhile, Sophia's days were anything but easy. The failure of the South City project caused her prestige at the company to plummet. Those old foxes on the board began to undermine her authority both openly and behind her back. She was overwhelmed and exhausted, working late into the night every day. That day, she dragged her tired body home to find an empty, cold villa waiting for her. She habitually turned on the TV. The financial channel was broadcasting the news. It is reported that Johnson Group's newly developed mobile game, Mythic Era, reached the top of the global download charts within just 1 week of launch, with revenue already surpassing $1 billion. Industry analysts predict this game will be the biggest dark horse of the year. On the screen was my genius programmer Leo Green being interviewed. He was high-spirited, his words full of gratitude and admiration for me. Without Mr. Johnson, there would be no The Age of Myth. It was Mr. Johnson who gave me boundless trust and support. He is the true genius in my heart. Sophia watched the TV, clutching the remote control tightly. It's Ethan again. It's him again. Why does he always manage to succeed so easily? She didn't understand. She turned off the TV, stood up irritably, and went to pour herself a glass of water. She slipped, her high heel twisted, and she fell to the ground in a humiliating heap. A piercing pain shot through her ankle. She struggled to get up, but couldn't muster any strength. In the empty villa, she was completely alone. Helplessness and grievance flooded her in an instant. She took out her phone and instinctively wanted to dial that familiar number. But when her fingertip touched the 2 letters Ethan on the screen, she stopped. What right did she have to call him? They had already broken off their engagement. And besides, he must be feeling very pleased with himself now. Seeing her in such a pathetic state, he would surely mock her. Sophia bit her lip and finally dialed her assistant's number. However, just when she was at her most embarrassed, the villa door suddenly opened. A person she never expected appeared at the doorway. The person who appeared at the doorway was me. I was carrying an insulated container in my hand, inside which was the black bone chicken soup I had just had the private chef simmer. Why did I come? Because David called me and said Sophia, in an effort to make up for the company's losses, had worked overtime for a week straight and fainted at the office today and was taken to the hospital. But she refused to stay and insisted on going home. David said, Mr. Johnson, Miss Taylor, she's actually quite pitiful. She was raised from childhood to be the heir, carrying everything on her own, with no one around to confide in. After taking such a big fall this time, she's probably feeling awful. I didn't want to get involved, but in her mind, Sophia's fate from the original book inexplicably surfaced. Although she was proud and cold, she wasn't some great villain. In the original novel, after the company went bankrupt, her family forced her to marry an older man with violent tendencies, and she ultimately died in despair. A favored daughter of heaven ending up like that naturally makes one sigh. Oh well, at least they were nominally engaged for a few days. Just consider it. A good deed done for the day. So I went, and she saw her fall to the ground, looking utterly embarrassed. Their eyes met, and awkwardness hung in the air. Sophia's face flushed in an instant, from her cheeks all the way to the roots of her ears. She probably had never been this humiliated in her life. Why are you here? She struggled to sit up, but moving pulled at the injured ankle and a sharp pain made her gasp. Just passing by. I lied without changing my expression, walked over, and set the thermos on the coffee table. Then I crouched down to examine her ankle. It was swollen like a steam bun. Don't move. I held down her foot as she tried to pull it back. My fingertips were warm. When they touched her cold skin, her whole body went rigid. What are you trying to do? Her voice trembled, edged with wariness. I'll treat the wound for you, otherwise your foot will be useless tomorrow. I rummaged through the cabinet beside me, took out the first aid kit, and pulled out an ice pack and some liniment. I had her sit on the sofa, then, half kneeling in front of her, I carefully lifted her foot. Her foot was small and fair, her toes plump and cute, painted with delicate red nail polish. It was a stark contrast to the usual decisive, no-nonsense iceberg female CEO image. I first used an ice pack to help reduce the swelling. Then I poured out some liniment, warmed it in my palms, and gently massaged her. My movements were very light and very professional. I had learned this before I transmigrated, specifically to give massages to my parents who often had sore backs and aching waists. Sophia sat rigidly on the sofa, not daring to move. She kept her head bowed, able only to see my focused profile and the hands earnestly massaging her feet. The warm palms carried a faint scent of medicinal oil, coming through continuously. That warmth seemed to travel up from her ankles and spread all the way into her heart. She couldn't remember how long it had been since anyone had cared for her like this. Since childhood, everyone had only paid attention to how much benefit she could bring to the family, her grades, her abilities. No one had ever asked her whether she was tired or in pain. Her eyes, before she knew it, had grown wet. All right, I finished rubbing her and stood up. Don't move around much these next few days and walk as little as possible. Thank you. Her voice was very soft, thick with a stuffy nasal tone. No need. I opened the thermos, ladled a bowl of black-bone chicken soup, and handed it to her. Drink this. Sophia stared at the steaming bowl of chicken soup, stunned. David said you fainted. I explained coolly. Drink this and get some rest. After speaking, I turned to leave. Wait, she suddenly called after me. I turned around. Why? She looked at me, her phoenix-like eyes full of complicated emotions. Why are you helping me? I'm just pitying you. I cut her off, my tone still that same lazy drawl. After all, seeing my former fiancé fall so low and having it get out would be embarrassing for me too, wouldn't it? I spoke the cruelest words, yet did the kindest thing. Sophia's heart felt as if something had slammed into it. She knew this wasn't his true feeling. If he really cared about Face, he wouldn't have been so decisive in proposing to break off the engagement back then. He was just, in his own way, clumsily caring for her. Ethan, she looked at my back, mustered her courage, and asked softly, do we still have a chance? I froze in my tracks. No looking back. Miss Taylor, what's done is done. I turned my back on her with finality. I'm tired. I just want to lie flat. Someone like you is exhausting. We're not right for each other. The door was closed. Sophia sat on the sofa, staring at the bowl of chicken soup still steaming, and tears burst from her eyes again. This time, it wasn't from failure or resentment, but because regret. It seemed like she had missed someone very important. I left Sophia's house feeling a bit conflicted. I admit, seeing her so fragile and helpless did make me soften a little. But that was all. Saving a fallen female CEO is not part of my life plan. I just want to be a salted fish. When I got home and opened the door, maching me out and leapt at me, rubbing against my feet. I picked it up, and the little bit of irritation in my heart was instantly soothed. You still are. I rubbed its furry head. In the living room, Emma was sitting on the carpet, playing with her Goldie using a cat teaser. Goldie, unlike her usual aloofness, chased the teaser, jumping up and down and having a great time. Seeing me come back, Emma's eyes lit up. You're back. She smiled and stood up, naturally taking the jacket from my hands. Have you eaten? I made your favorite barbecue. I looked at the cartoon apron she was wearing, clearly from my house, then at the 4 dishes and a soup laid out on the table. and for a moment felt the illusion of coming home to a warm house with a wife and kids waiting. "Why are you here?" I asked. "I brought Goldie to play with Machi," she said with righteous composure. "And I figured I'd make you a meal while I was at it." That, by the way, was perfectly timed. I changed my shoes, washed my hands, and sat at the dining table. The roast Emma made was rich without being greasy, melting in my mouth. It tasted absolutely divine. "Is it good?" She looked at me with hopeful eyes. I nodded. She immediately grinned like a cat caught with a fish. "If it's good, eat more." She kept serving me dishes, piling my bowl into a little mountain. "You eat too." I took a piece of steak and put in her bowl. Emma froze mid-motion, her cheeks flushing visibly red. She lowered her head and took small bites of the steak, but the corners of her mouth couldn't help lifting. After dinner, as usual, I collapsed on the sofa. Emma, on the other hand, busily cleared the dishes and took them to the kitchen to wash. Watching her busy back in the kitchen, I suddenly felt that this kind of life didn't seem so bad. Just then, my phone rang. "It's David." "Mr. Johnson, there's a charity gala. Would you like to attend?" "I'm not going." I answered instantly. "But Mr. Johnson, this gala is hosted by the city. Many bigwigs will be there. And Miss Taylor will be going too." "Sophia is going too?" I raised an eyebrow. Her leg is like that. Why is she still going to some banquet? What is she going for? I heard it's to salvage the company's reputation. "The Taylor Group is one of the biggest sponsors of this banquet," David said with a trace of regret. I fell silent. A proud person, in order to salvage a lost cause, had no choice but to drag his injured body to social events and offer apologetic smiles. Just picturing that scene makes my heart ache. I know. I hung up the phone. "What's the matter?" Emma came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands as she asked me. "There's a boring dinner party. If you don't want to go, then don't." Emma sat down beside me, casually picked up a grape, peeled it, and brought it to my lips. I opened my mouth and ate it. It was very sweet. But I looked at her. "Sophia will be attending this banquet too." Emma paused with a grape halfway to her mouth. The smile on her face faded slightly, but she still said gently, "Then, do you want to go? If you want to go, I'll go with you." I watched her pretend to be magnanimous and found it amusing. Such a little vinegar jar. "I don't want to go," I said, "but I don't want her to go alone." Emma was stunned. She looked at me, her expression somewhat complicated. "Can you still not let her go?" "No." I shook my head and looked in her eyes very seriously. "I just feel that she's a bit pitiful, and I don't want to see those people go up and kick her when she's down. Those old foxes in the business world are best at elevating some and putting others down. Sophia is like the phoenix fallen into the water right now. Who knows how many people are waiting to watch her fail, even a heap blows on her." Emma fell silent. She kept her head down, not knowing what she was thinking. After a long while, she finally looked up and gave me a big smile. "I understand," she said. "Then I must come with you even more." I didn't follow her logic. "If you want to protect her, then I'll help you protect her." She clenched her fist, her face full of fighting spirit. "The two of us will back her up together. Make everyone who wants to watch the show shut up." I looked at her face, which seemed to say we're a united front, and couldn't help but be torn between crying and laughing. This girl's train of thought really was unlike ordinary people's. "Okay." I finally nodded. "Go then. Just consider it. Watching a grand show." On the night of the charity gala, I wore a subdued yet luxurious custom suit, my arm linked with Emma, who wore a starry blue evening gown, as we appeared at the entrance of the ballroom. The moment we appeared, we instantly became the center of attention. The man was extraordinarily handsome, the woman ethereally beautiful. Standing together, they were simply a perfect match, dazzling to the point of hurting the eyes. Isn't that Ethan from the Johnson Group? And the one beside him? Is that the Wilson family's heiress? Oh my God, are they actually together? Their looks are so perfectly matched. I heard Ethan's been on a roll lately. Whatever he invests and makes money. He's like Midas. The Wilsons are even more powerful than the Taylors. If Ethan's teaming up with them, he's about to reach the top of his life. The surrounding murmurs were neither loud nor quiet, just enough to reach our ears. Emma wasn't used to this kind of scene and nervously gripped my arm. I patted her hand, signaling her to relax. "Don't be afraid, just follow me." I led her, looking straight ahead as we walked into the venue. Soon, I spotted Sophia in the crowd. She was wearing a black, strapless evening gown, her makeup exquisite, her hair swept up high, revealing a graceful swan-like neck. She looked, as always, noble and aloof. But only I knew that beneath her gown her bandaged ankle must be throbbing right now. She was surrounded by several middle-aged men, her face wearing a practiced smile as she held a glass and engaged with them. Those men were all seasoned sharks in the business world. At this moment, their gazes on Sophia carried a hint of ill intent. "Miss Taylor, you're truly young and accomplished. That project in Nan City, though it had some mishaps, your decisiveness makes us old fellows admire you," a Mediterranean man said with a chuckle, his hand nevertheless trying to slip onto Sophia's waist. Sophia stepped back without a change in expression, avoiding his greasy hands. "President Wong, you flatter me. Just a minor setback. Taylor Group can handle it." Her voice remained cool and distant, but if one listened closely, a trace of fatigue could be heard. "Ah, Miss Taylor, don't say that." The other fat man leaned in too. "I think, Miss Taylor, you're just a young woman running such a big company. It's hard work. Why don't you cooperate with us, Huasheng? If you give us the nod, we guarantee to help the Taylor Group through this difficulty." As he spoke, he even gave Sophia a flirtatious wink. Those around them responded with suggestive laughter. Their so-called cooperation was nothing more than opportunism, trying to take advantage of the situation to swallow up the Taylor Group. Sophia's expression darkened, and the fingers holding the wine glass went white from gripping it hard. Just as she was about to lose it, a languid voice sounded. "Oh, is Huasheng that powerful now? It can help the Taylor Group get through a rough patch." Everyone turned to look in the direction of the voice. When they saw it was me, everyone's expressions changed, especially that fat man. The smile on his face froze in an instant. "Johnson, Mr. Johnson." I ignored him and walked straight to Sophia's side, naturally shielding her behind me. Then I looked at the fat man and said with a fake smile, "Don't I recall that Huasheng lost $300 million last quarter and can barely cover its bank loans? How come you suddenly have spare cash to help others now?" The fat man's face instantly flushed the color of a pig's liver. Get lost. I couldn't be bothered to waste words on him. The fat man and those old slicksters didn't dare make a sound. They slunk away in disgrace. The world became quiet. I turned and looked at Sophia. She was looking at me with an extremely complicated expression. There was shock, gratitude, and a hint of an emotion I couldn't read. "You, what did I do?" I raised an eyebrow. "I told you, watching you get bullied doesn't do my face any favors either." Emma, who was standing by my side, spoke up at the right moment. She stepped forward, affectionately hooked her arm through Sophia's other arm, and smiled like a little son. "Sophia, Jia, don't listen to him. He just talks tough but has a soft heart." As she said this, she glanced at me. Some people, even when they care, just can't speak nicely. "Sophia, Jia, when did they get so close?" Sophia was also stunned, looking at Emma in confusion. Emma blinked at her and whispered, "We're allies now, united against outsiders. Let's take down the bad guys." Sophia, me. Now the scene became even more bizarre. Me, Ethan, linking arms with my current rumored girlfriend Emma Wilson with my left hand, and with my right hand, shielding my ex-fiancée Sophia. The three of us stood together, forming a strange iron triangle. The people around us were all dumbfounded. What kind of annual spectacle is this? At that moment, an untimely voice rang out. "Emma, what are you doing here?" A handsome man in a white suit walked toward us. He didn't even look at Sophia or me. His eyes were fixed on Emma, full of admiration. The plot radar in my head went beep. The original novel's male lead, Kevin White, had made his entrance. "Mr. Kevin." Emma saw him and gave a polite nod, her attitude distant. She instinctively moved a little closer to me. That small gesture inexplicably brightened my mood. Kevin's gaze finally shifted away from Emma and landed on me. When he saw Emma holding my arm, his pupils suddenly contracted. A wave of hostility spread instantly. "Who is this?" He looked at me, his tone unfriendly. "He's my boyfriend, Ethan." Emma cut in ahead of me and announced loudly. Her voice was bright and clear, instantly carrying throughout the entire banquet hall. Everyone gasped. It was announced officially. The Wilson family's daughter actually made the announcement publicly. I could feel countless gazes falling on us like searchlights. Kevin's face went dark in an instant. He looked at me as if fire were about to spew from his eyes. "Boyfriend," he sneered. "Emma, don't be fooled by someone like him. What kind of person do you think he is? Who in the whole circle doesn't know? He's just a good-for-nothing who only knows how to eat, drink, and have fun. He doesn't deserve you." If those words had been said before, there would probably have been a whole bunch of people agreeing. But now, silence fell all around. Everyone was looking at Kevin as if he were an idiot. "Big brother, did your internet cut out? Who would dare call Ethan useless now? That's true wisdom hiding as folly, a god of effortless victory." I looked at Kevin's face, which screamed, "I'm the protagonist, I'm the best," and found it somewhat amusing. Is this what they call the protagonist's halo? Comes with an intelligence-dropping effect. He deserves whatever I say he deserves. Emma shot back without mincing words. "Mr. Kevin, please show some respect. Ethan isn't worthless. He's the most amazing person in my heart." She looked at me with eyes full of trust and adoration. This unconditional defense made my heart tremble sharply. Kevin was so choked up he couldn't speak. He probably hadn't expected that the always gentle and charming Emma would become so sharp-tongued for the sake of a man. "Mr. Kevin." Sophia, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly spoke. Her voice was still cold, but carried an authority that brooked no argument. "What kind of person Ethan isn't for you to judge." She looked at Kevin coolly. "Mind your own business." Kevin was completely stunned. It's one thing for Emma to defend Ethan, but why is Sophia doing it too? Wasn't it said that Sophia and Ethan had called off their engagement and were at each other's throats? What on earth is going on? I watched the original book's male lead being attacked by two heroines at once, and I felt absolutely delighted. See, this is the power of an information gap. You're still on the first floor, and I'm already on the fifth. All right, stop wasting time on people who don't matter, I said lazily, breaking the stalemate. I held Emma with one hand and supported Sophia with the other. "Let's go over there and get something to eat." Then, to the stunned gazes of everyone in the hall, I nonchalantly walked toward the buffet area with two breathtaking beauties, leaving Kevin, who looked utterly bewildered and questioning his life, standing there in disarray. I could feel his poisoned gaze trailing us the whole time. I didn't care. Just a protagonist living in his own world. He couldn't stir up any trouble. I took a plate, served a piece of tiramisu, and handed it to Sophia. "Here, your favorite." Sophia was stunned. She did indeed love desserts, especially tiramisu. But it was her secret. She had never told anyone. How did he know? Of course I wouldn't tell her that I'd read the original and knew that this ice-cold CEO was secretly a sweets-obsessed fan of all things cute. "What are you?" "Just a guess," I said casually. Sophia took the cake and ate it quietly. Emma watched from the side, and instead of getting jealous, she even handed me a piece of matcha mousse. "Have some too, don't just focus on us." I looked at the two of them, one an iceberg, the other like warm sunlight, and at this moment they were standing together eating cake in perfect harmony. This scene was so beautiful I dared not look. "By the way," Emma said as if she'd remembered something, turning to Sophia, "Sophia, I heard about the Nan City project. Don't worry, I'll tell my dad as soon as I get back and ask him to help you. The Wilsons may not have anything else, but we have plenty of money." She patted her chest, all swagger and bravado. Sophia felt a warmth in her heart. She shook her head. "Thank you, Emma, but it's not necessary. This is an issue for our tailor group, and I'll handle it. Although she had fallen on hard times, the pride in her bones remained. That won't do, Emma said in disapproval. We're friends. Friends should help each other. I watched the two of them chattering away and suddenly felt like I was the redundant one. Oh well, never mind. I picked up a piece of Black Forest cake and started eating. Emma, it tastes good. After the charity gala, my life returned to its calm. Every day, I pet the cat, eat, and work out. Occasionally, Emma would drag me to her restaurant to inspect the work and offer a few suggestions. Or Sophia would call me over with a single phone call to help her deal with some minor life troubles. For example, a light bulb in the house went out. For example, the drain was clogged. For example, she wanted to eat at that pizza place in the west of town that's been open for 30 years, but she's hopeless with directions and couldn't find it. Every time I verbally say, "You're so annoying," my body honestly goes over anyway. What can I do? Whenever she asks for help, she looks at me with such a pitiful expression, like a large feline that's been abandoned. I found that once you strip away that cold, hard exterior, Sophia is actually hopeless at everyday life. A genius in her career, a wreck in her personal life. That contrast is, well, kind of lethal. And Emma, regarding my frequent help visits to Sophia, wasn't angry at all. On the contrary, she wholeheartedly approved. She even created a WeChat group called Protect Sister Sophia Alliance. There were only 3 people in the group. Me, her, Sophia. Every day Emma checked in on the group, sharing various pictures of food and cute pets, trying to warm Sophia's cold heart. At first Sophia was still very aloof, only replying or oh. Later, under Emma's persistent harassment, she also began to share some of her everyday life. For example, the drawings made by the children at the orphanage she was anonymously sponsoring. For example, the stray cats she fed by the roadside. I watched the interaction between the 2 women in the group, feeling like an old father, my face full of pride. As for the original novel's male lead, Kevin, he didn't come back to bother us. I only heard that he hated me with a passion and targeted the Johnson group at every turn in the business world. Unfortunately for him, the projects he targeted were ones I already knew were traps or had no intention of touching. His maneuver was like punching cotton. It didn't hurt me in the slightest, but instead left him looking bedraggled. That day, I was at home studying a long-lost set of imperial recipes when David's call came again. "Mr. Johnson, it's bad. What now?" I asked, accustomed. Kevin somehow got hold of the source code for our Mythic era, developed an identical knockoff game, and even beat us to market by launching overseas. He's now aggressively grabbing our market. Oh, stole the source code? This plot point wasn't in the original book. It seems that my appearance has caused the plot's butterfly effect to grow larger and larger. What are you panicking about? I said lightly. What he stole was only the surface. But Mr. Johnson, their game is exactly the same as ours, and it's free. We're losing users badly. David said, nearly in tears. Where's Leo? I asked. Leo has already taken the team to modify the code, but distant water won't put out a nearby fire. Don't let him change it. I said, have him immediately, right now, switch to the 2.0 version we've long prepared. From the start, I had Leo prepare 2 plans for the Project Mythic era. The 1.0 version circulating on the market was just a stripped-down edition. The real core gameplay and art assets are all in the 2.0 version. This is the big gift I prepared for Kevin. Version 2.0. David was stunned for a moment, then elated. Mr. Johnson, do you mean that Pantheon version? Yes, I replied. Tell Leo to put out all the best stuff for me. Also, hold a global launch. I will attend in person. You will attend in person? David was shocked. You should know, ever since I took over the company, I've been a hands-off manager and haven't even entered the office more than a few times. And now, I'm supposed to attend the press conference in person? Yes, I said. It's time to let certain people know who the real boss is. The global launch of Mythic Era version 2.0 is scheduled for 3 days from now. The event was set to take place at the largest convention center in Jing City. Once the news broke, the entire tech and gaming circles exploded. No one expected that after being severely damaged by knockoff games, the Johnson Group would not back down, but instead choose to fight all the way. Even more shocking was that the legendary, elusive, sitting back and winning God Ethan was reportedly going to attend in person. For a time, invitations to the launch event were being scalped for outrageous prices. Countless media outlets and fans wanted to see my true face. On the day of the event, the venue was packed shoulder to shoulder. I wore a simple white, casual outfit and strolled up onto the stage at a leisurely pace. No speech, no teleprompter. The moment I stepped onto the stage, the audience fell silent. Countless flashes focused on me. I picked up the microphone and scanned the crowd. In the front row, I saw Emma and Sophia. The two of them sat together, both looking at me with nervous yet expectant expressions. I smiled at them, signaling for them to relax. Then I began to speak. I know you all came today to see how I would respond to the recent plagiarism scandal. My voice wasn't loud, but through the speakers it reached everyone's ears clearly. Here, I want to say only one thing. I paused, looked into the eyes of everyone in the audience, and spoke word by word. Imitation can never surpass the original. Some people stole our code, thinking they'd gained the whole world. But they don't know that what they stole was just the trash we threw away. Today, I'll show everyone what the real age of myth truly is. After saying that, I snapped my fingers. The huge LED screen behind me lit up in an instant. A CG animation begins to play. Grand music, visuals so exquisitely detailed that every frame could be a wallpaper. A fantastical world suffused with Western mythological color, never seen before, unfolds before everyone. Zeus commands the thunder. Poseidon raises towering waves. Athena wields a spear. Apollo drives the sun chariot. Scenes that existed only in ancient myths have been perfectly recreated. The whole room fell dead silent. Everyone was left speechless, stunned by this Hollywood-level CG. When the CG finished playing, the words Myth Era 2.0, Pantheon, appeared on screen. This, I said calmly, is our myth era. It will launch worldwide in 1 hour, and it will be completely free forever. Boom! The audience erupted instantly. Holy shit! These visuals, these effects, this is the true pride of domestic production. Compared to this, Kevin's knockoff game is just a pile of shit. Free forever? Mr. Johnson is so generous. Ethan is awesome. Voice crack, cheers and screams, nearly lifting the roof off the entire venue. I looked at the frenzied crowd below the stage, and the corner of my mouth lifted into a small smile. Kevin, do you see that? This is the difference between you and me. You think you stole my treasure, but in fact, you only picked up the trash I discarded. After the press conference ended, I was surrounded by reporters. I couldn't be bothered to deal with them. So with a bodyguard's escort, I left through a private passage. Emma and Sophia were waiting for me in the car. As soon as I got in, Emma lunged at me and gave me a big bear hug. Ethan, you're amazing. You're basically my god. She planted a smack kiss on my cheek. I was stunned. Sophia, sitting beside me, also looked at me. In her phoenix-like eyes there was no longer coldness or complexity, but pure, unabashed admiration and affection. You! She opened her mouth as if to say something, but in the end only blushed and whispered, "You look very handsome today." I looked at myself, embraced on both sides, and suddenly thought that this life after transmigrating into a book actually isn't so bad. As for that Kevin, I heard that after our press conference his company's stock instantly collapsed. Overnight, he went from a golden boy to a rat in the street, buried in debt. What happened to him afterward, I stopped paying attention, because my life already had more important people and things. For example, what to eat today. For example, what should we name the new litter Machi and Goldie had? For example, I look beside me. One with a smile like a blooming flower, the other an ice queen thawing. Two peerless beauties. Whose card should I flip tonight? This really is a sweet kind of trouble. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's. Yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. "They're after your painting," the private detective asserted, "and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust." I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. "It's taking too long," Tom said irritably. "How much longer until he sells the painting?" "Don't worry," she soothed him. "I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money." "You're really pregnant?" "That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly." "Does Annie know the truth?" "She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help." I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. "You don't actually have feelings for George, do you?" Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. "It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word." "Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it." Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon," I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, the pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines, with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, see, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused. No matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other." 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond. She gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, You might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence, no matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said, love does not disappear, it merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, We'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.